Well, I'm literally unstoppable, but not in a good way. The other day, I squeezed hard on the brakes, but the bike just didn't stop and I ran a traffic light. Pretty terrifying, right? Turned out I need new brake pads. But with resin, metallic, semi-metallic and other options, which ones is the best? So in today's episode, I'm gonna test them out to find out which one is the perfect pads. So come along with me on this journey and find it out together. Ouch! Ooh! I think this could be a perfect landing. Anyway, get out of the road. Ow, and let's see. Ooh. After catching my breath and realized I should fix this problem before it really gets worse, it is time to replace my brake pads. But as soon as I start shopping around, I hit a roadblock. There are simply too many options. Resin, metallic, semi-metallic, ceramic. What are all these even means? And each of them promise something different. Some are better braking power, longer durability, and some are heat resistance. But when you're just looking at them, it is really hard to find out what is work for you, and everyone seems to have a slightly different preference and opinions. So, how do you make the right choice? It is tough because each of these pads has its own advantage, and none of them is perfect for every situation. But this is where I'm here for. I'm gonna break it down, test some pads, and figure out which one is best for my riding style. And maybe through this journey, I'll help you to find yours too. Well, before we dive into the brake pad options, let's do a quick recap on how this brakes works and all the key components involved. First, you have the rotor. This is a metal disc attached to the wheel hub. Then it's the caliper, which houses the brake pad. The lever is where you squeeze your hands to activate the brakes. And of course, the pad inside the caliper where they make contact with the rotor that ultimately slow you down. So when you pull the brake lever, the hydraulic fluid in a full hydraulic system or a cable in a cable actuated system transfer the force from your hand to the caliper. And inside the caliper, there is piston pushing the brake pad against the spinning rotor. And it's that friction between the pads and the rotor that ultimately slow your wheels down and bring your bike to a stop. It is simple, right? Well, so you may ask, why is it important to know how this works? And it all comes down to understanding something called coefficient of friction. And this coefficient is basically how much friction is generated between two surfaces. Now in this case, it would be the brake pad and the rotor. And here's the catch. As the temperature rises due to all that friction is generated, the coefficient of friction can drop, meaning that the hotter things get, the less braking power you might have. Now, even if you pull the lever with the same or even greater amount of the force. And there is also something called thermal degradation to keep in mind. Some organic material could really degenerate it when it's under high heat. So as they degenerated, the surface of the brake pad changed, leading to even less friction. And this is why some pads can feel like that they're losing the bike during a long descent when things really start heating up. Now, I have created a chart that shows the thermal degradation characteristic, which should show you how some of these different brake pads would perform on a different temperature. So understanding these characters is important when choosing the right brake pad. The type of pad you would use affects how well it handles heat, friction, durability. It all could make a big difference when you're flying downhill or in an emergency stopping situation. Now, let's break down the common type of brake pads based on their compound materials. I'll start with resin or organic pads. These are probably the most common brake pads that you'll come across, and they're made from organic compounds, which give you a great initial bite, meaning that they provide quick and responsive stopping power right from the start. That make them really ideal for riders who want an instantaneous braking feeling. However, resin pads can struggle when the heat builds up, like on a prolonged descent. The second type we look at is metallic. Metallic pads are made from metal compounds like copper, iron, or steel, are known for being long-lasting and most heat-resistant. And these pads can handle extreme conditions like heavy braking and mountain descent without losing their braking power. And you might ask the downside, metallic pads have a little bit more time to warm up before they perform the best, and they tend to be quite noisy, and some riders do find them they're a bit harsher to the rotor and then lead to premature rotor wearing. Now, you might come across something called semi-metallic, which is the third one, and these are the pads sit between this resin and the metallic itself. They are like the love trial between two, and semi-metallic pads offer a nice balance of braking performance and heat resistance. And if you are looking for something that performs well in a variety of conditions without too much compromising, semi-metallic might be a good way to go. And the last option you might find is ceramic. Ceramic is a high-end option and known for being heat resistant and provide higher performance in a demanding condition. Now, the ceramic material allows for consistent braking power even at a very high temperature, making them a solid choice for riders who push the bike to the limit. So, which one is the best? And that really depends on your riding style and the condition that you typically ride in. Personally, I'm keen to test out 3 different types, which is resin, semi-metallic, and ceramic. And after some real-world testing, I will decide which one I'll keep it on my bike. So here's the plan. I'll be setting up a controlled testing scenario, following by a full weeks of riding to test out 3 key attributes that really matters when choosing the bike pad for me. First is the noise level. I'm gonna place a mic closer to the brake caliper to record the braking sound. From that, we can work out the decibel relative to full scale dBFS, which we use to see the baseline compared to the noise level between the pads. No one really likes squeaky brakes, right? This test will help me to find out which pads are the quietest and which ones might drive you nuts. Well, the second would be the stopping power. For this, I'm thinking about doing a non-pedaling downhill roll. I'll let the bike pick up the speed, then hit the brakes at a specific point, capturing the stopping distance for each pads type. This will give me a clear comparison of how quick each pads can bring the bike to the stop under a similar condition. Third will be longevity, particular wear to the pad. I'll record the thickness of both pads, well, all the pads, before and after the testing. While it might hard to see a huge difference in just a week, but I'm just curious of what is notable wear there early on. Again, I'll be testing only resin, semi-metallic, and ceramic since I'm not making much of prolonged descent all the time that need high heat resistance. I'll give the full metallic a miss this time, and how I'm going to set up the test to make sure everything is fair. To keep things consistent, I'll be using same bike, same braking system, same rotor and caliper. The only things I would change is the pad itself. And to make sure each pad is bedded in properly, I'll do the bedding process before I take any reading. Now, it may take a few days or even longer to get it set up properly, but I want the test to be as accurate as possible. Alright, it's time to get changed. Head out and start testing these pads and see which one will come out on the top. Alright, I have all the test data and I'm ready to discuss the details with you. Let's dive into the result of the noise level testing first. Now, I'll play the recording for each pad as I hit the brakes. Pay close attention to the differences between resin, semi-metallic and ceramic brakes. Please note that the lower the number, the quieter it is in real life. I'll also display the sound profile for each brake process so that you can see it on the screen. Let's start with the resin pads. Resin pads were the quietest of the bunch, producing a relatively mild sound as -6.5. The perceived loudness measures -20.5, reflecting the resin pads are generally quieter and less aggressive sounding during the brakes. Now, let's have a good listen on the semi-metallic. The semi-metallics were slightly louder than the resin pad, with a peak noise of -6.1 and the perceived loudness of -17.8. They had a little bit more bite to it, and you can clearly hear the differences through the clip. And let's roll the last clip for the ceramic pads. Ceramic pads were indeed interesting. They start out fairly quiet, but get much louder when under heavy braking. They peak at -0.4 dBps and with the perceived overall loudness of -14.2. This means that ceramic pads can be the loudest when you apply strong pressure in continual notable squeak during the aggressive braking. So what does it all mean? First, resin pads are definitely quiet overall, making them the ideal for riders who want minimum brake noise during regular use. Semi-metallic offer a little bit more moderate noise, but that's manageable, while ceramic pads start off quite quiet, but it definitely squeaks the loudest when under heavy braking, which you might want to consider twice if you are doing a lot of downhill descent. If noise is your primary concern, the resin pads are definitely a clear winner. But the choice is also depends on other factors such as stopping power, which we'll cover now. Alright, let's dig into the stopping distance result. The test took a little bit longer than expected, stretching over just over 4 weeks due to changes in weather and road condition. But overall, the road conditions were mostly good except for a few days of wet surface to factor in. I have recorded all the results in an Excel spreadsheet, so if you're interested, I'll put a link, the document in the description. Now let's break down the result from each set of the pads. Instead of just looking at the stopping distance alone, I took a little bit step further to eliminate some of the variables like inconsistent in the rolling line, the lowering speed, when these all impact the terminal speed, which is how fast I was going before I hit the brake. Now to get a better baseline, I calculate the stopping force of each test using a combination of stopping distance as well as the terminal speed. And here is how I do it. First, I have the system mass. The total mass of the system, which is me. Once I got the system mass, next one I'll need to work on is the velocity. I record the speed in terms of the kilometers per hour and then convert it into the meters per second just before I hit the brakes using my cycling computer GPS information as well as looking at the footage of the recording. From there, I work out the total kinetic energy in joules, which is the energy of the bike and the total system I had right before braking. Using the kinetic energy then divided by the stopping distance, I was able to calculate the stopping force applied through the brake to the rider and the entire system. This force is measured in newtons. That gives me a much more accurate picture of how well the brakes perform beyond just how far it took to stop. Now, one small assumption I made is that my body mass will stay relatively constant over the testing period, within I would say 1 kilograms of difference, which is pretty much give us about 2% to 3% margin of error. This is quite acceptable for this type of test. Now let's look at the result of each pad. Starting with the old pads. With the old worn-out pad were a big concern for me. I was worried that if I keep on riding them, they will eventually fail completely and put me into a greater danger. The stopping force they generate was just 97 newtons, and it confirmed my fear that I need to replace them ASAP. Now these pads were barely doing the job and it should be replaced at pretty much now. We come to the resin organic pads. As expected, the resin pads show a lot of promise. Their initial bite felt strong, and the first set of tests they generate a good stopping force of 269.62 newtons, almost 3 times stronger than the old worn-out pads. This type of pad is known for its sharp, immediate braking, which is evident in the result. Now let's look into the semi-metallic pads. The semi-metallics are indeed interesting. At first, they didn't seem to grab as hard as the resin pads, and they didn't lock the wheels when I pushed the bike and applied the brake by hands. But in reality, they perform quite alright, producing 212.34 newtons of stopping force, which is about 21% less than the resin pad, but it's still a very solid, especially when you're considering other advantages like the durability and the heat resistance. With ceramic pads, I had high expectation of these ceramic pads, especially they are often used for high performance scenario in automobile industry, and the result didn't disappoint. They produce a whopping 327.1 newtons of stopping force, almost 50% more than the semi-metallic and 25% more than the resin pads. Now these pads are clearly excel in high performance scenario, offering an excellent stopping power. Now, during the test, I noticed my braking techniques improve over time. So I decided to do some retests in the resin pads to see how much my skill improved that could impact the result. I did a new set of tests and recorded the stopping force of average 295.92 newtons in the new test, which is about 9% more than the original test. This showed that the rider technique can indeed play a role in the braking performance, something to keep in mind of. To sum up, the ceramic pads took the top spot in terms of the raw stopping power, followed by the resin pad and then the semi-metallic. The old pad, of course, it is worn out and really poor performing, so it's due for replacement. But the stopping power and the distance is not the only factor to look at. Next chapter, let's look at some of the wear and tear of these pads. Now we have examined the noise level and the stopping power. Let's examine how the different brake pads hold up in terms of the wear. The goal was to determine how long each type of pad might last in a real-world riding situation, mixing commuting, solo training, and some of the cup rides. But please be aware that I wasn't aiming for ultra-precise number in here, but rather just an indication of how would these pads perform over time. And you might ask how this test would work. Here is the process I follow to determine how much of the pad is usable. I took the braking material thickness and subtracted by 1 mm as a safety buffer. I prefer to replace the pads when there is about 1 mm of material left to ensure there is some consistent braking there. Over a week, I ride about 80-90 kilometers with a mix of commuting, training, which includes some of the braking tests we already do as well. I know that 80 kilometers isn't a huge distance, but combined with an aggressive braking test, I think it is enough to give us a decent indication of how quickly these pads wear without having to wait for months. After a week of riding, I measured the wear on this set of pads. Remember, I did the second run of this resin test, but I did this measurement before I did the second run. So that sort of external wear and extra wear is completely excluded. And I add up the wear from each of the individual pads to get a total wear figure of each set. The results are follows. With the resin pad wear, this is about 0.26 mm, semi-metallic is 0.205, with the ceramic is 0.125 mm. However, when I do the testing in the semi-metallic pads, I noticed there's a fair bit of brake rub on the front wheel, which likely to skew the rear numbers. So after removing the wear caused by the brake rub on the front pad, the corrected total of the rear of the semi-metallic pads come out to be 0.065. Now, using the data from the wear measured, I worked out the percentage of pad used for each type of brake pads. Now this is calculated by dividing the total wear by the usable pad thickness. And here are the results. With resin pad is 5.2% used, ceramic is 2.69, with semi-metallic with the corrected value is 3.04. Based on this percentage, I can now estimate the total lifetime of each pad type by projecting how far you can ride them before the pair wear down to 1 mm of material remaining. And here are the results. The ceramic pads again take the top spot with an estimate lifetime of 3,018 kilometers, and the semi-metallic come in the second with a 2,334 kilometers. And with the resin and organic pads come in the third place, which with an estimate lifetime of 1,853 kilometers. This is not a huge surprise since the resin pads tend to wear down more quickly due to a softer compound material itself. Of course, wear isn't the only factors to consider, but if you are looking for something that lasts the longest, ceramic pads are the clear winner here again. Up next, let's take a look at my final thought and look at which brake pads I'm gonna stick with after all this testing. It has been very nice last few weeks that I can take the bike out, swap the pads and do all the details testing and test the performance and choose what I like. So now it's time to wrap up and let me go through some of my thoughts with you. Now if you look at the numbers, you would see okay, ceramic is better in braking power and it's also longer lasting. I would choose that, right? But that actually turned out to be slightly different. So I've been doing a little bit of training in the hills area, and during those training I put the resin to a little bit of test. I do find the resin pad has a little bit more better moderation in the sense that when you come to trim the speed, when you're getting into a corner, I do feel that resin gives me a smoother deceleration compared to the ceramic for whatever reason. And simply based on that, I will stick on the resin pad for the foreseeable future. Maybe when the resin pad is completely done, then I will switch it back to the ceramic for a comparison later on. But no matter what you choose, I think what I come down to is all of these big pads have really good comparable performance. They do have slightly different characters, and we are very blessed of all these options. So it's about picking up what you would like to use, and they are not expensive overall. Some of these are really cheap, like what I got from AliExpress, not costing more than $4 or $5 per pad. So if your brake pad actually having an issue with braking, don't skim on it. Change it early and be safe. And one more thing before I would wrap it up is the braking skills overall. I think it actually play a significant part in terms of your braking distance. If you can rewind or jump back to the test that I did with the resin, the second set of tests, I do notice a 9% difference in terms of performance improvement in terms of braking power and braking distance. So get more practice sometime. It's actually good to help you in those like emergency or tricky situation, a more tactical terrain. So with that, I think this has been a really nice journey, and it took a bit of time for us to put this video together. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to see you next time. All right, keep on pedaling. See you next time.